Yeah, what's up, Adam?
Hello, is that?
Sorry, Brendon.
Yeah,
Sorry, Brendon. How you doing, Brendon?
good, Jyrki. How are you?
I'm really excited to do these interviews to the locations we haven't been,
Yeah, I
and
reckon.
yeah. So I hope this will open up, and then you have to invite a vampire to come over. So hopefully this will help with that.
Well,
You
you're
know.
you're you're officially invited.
Okay, thank
So,
you, sir. So
you,
now I can just pull my coffin to the ship and sail over there.
yeah,
Thank you.
you've been to Australia, hey?
Oh,
You've been to Australia before, but just not New Zealand.
yeah, we played in Australia like 10 years ago, so but never New Zealand, and hopefully someday we will. And I if I'm honest to right, there's actually more bands, more international bands coming over than 10 years ago these days. So
Yeah, yeah. Well,
let's make it happen. But
of course.
one of the things is like actually like we can talk about it or somebody can drop a line in the social media. But honestly, it's like the promoters who decide.
Of course.
So fans who want to, see some goth and roll from Helsinki, they should get in touch with the promoters and tell them that we want to see this band over here do something.
Well, it's
Do your
about
job.
you. It's about just been 30 years since your band started, so about time we got you
Yeah.
guys in New Zealand.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, sir.
Congratulations on 30 years, by the way.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you.
So you got the new album. Obviously, West End is about to come out. It's got the dark theme predicting the end of the Western world, which sounds really cool but really scary. So how do you
Yeah, it's
feel?
actually,
How do you feel about the album?
especially, especially as we talk right now today, the news are so horrible that it gives me creeps. What's going on right now? So, well, I mean, the thing is with the title is like there's basically it's just cool two words. I like the West, and go West, young man. And then there's end. The end is always near, like Jim Morrison says. So it's just cool title with two words.
All right.
And but on the other hand, like it's of course reflects what's going on right now. Have been going on a few years, and like it's probably because we got so much information. So it feels like from different sources comes again like we're closer to apocalypse and things like this. Um, Whether it's not like the end days are coming, that's in the news like daily, uh,
Mm.
especially even today. But like I think the millennials are freaking out, but I mean more than anybody else because I'm from the 80s when I was a kid, and in the early 80s there was um, constant war, like a nuclear war,
Mm.
like was everywhere it was talked about. We're going to get nuclear war anytime. So that scare was there then, and so and that that nuclear war threat was like the reason that we have movies like Mad Max, and then on the other hand we started to dress up in black. I started to dress up in black for that because it was such a heavy dark times. And like there was music style like gothic rock and dark wave that came up from those, and then that from those threats and that dark period. So I see like as what's going on right now, I rather take some inspiration from that and throw it to the title of the album instead of
Cool.
like
Yeah.
worrying too much in
Well,
that sense. It's just like always, it depends how you look at the things. Like it can be dark and rainy and cold outside, and you look at from your window and you don't really wouldn't like to go out. But if you look at it like, oh wow, that's fantastic gothic weather, then it's perfect. to go out in that sense. Just put your sunglasses on and remember the umbrella. So
Okay, well, we'll come back to the new album soon, but I just want to quickly go back and just to get a glimpse of your history because I'm a huge fan of the 80s hard rock and the glam metal and stuff. And obviously, the band started with that kind of sound, and then you graduated into the goth and roll pioneering sound that you ended up with. How did that come about, and did you try and ever resist moving away from like that glam hard rock sound?
yeah, well, I mean, as you now seemingly are aware of, like what was happening in the 80s. So there was
Mm.
a lot of other stuff. Like, for instance, if I would pick up some band names and things that were inspiring the 69 when we started, there was the band called Lords of the New Church, uh, with the Steve Baders from Dead Boys, the Cult, also Hanoi
Kano
Rocks,
Rocks, yeah,
band
from
from,
Finland as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, from Helsinki, who were like one of the main motivations for us to start a band. And also, like, which was really, which is not that often talked about, but there was actually really cool Australian, I think even New Zealand rock scene
Mm.
in the 80s. And there was brilliant bands coming out from there, which really, like, I don't know if you guys even remember those times when there was bands like Lime Spiders, uh, Hoodoo Gurus, Screaming Tribesmen, Died Pretty, a lot of bands.
Okay.
I think some of them coming from New Zealand as well. So they sort of meld together
Mm.
in our minds, but from down under anyway. So there was great rock and roll scene from there as well. And so, like 80s in the end, uh, of course, there was synthesizer pop, but there was also heavy guitar rocking times as well. So when we started our band, we would just wanted to, and the Cramps, of course, totally different stuff, but that was like
Mm.
one of my favorite bands. So we just wanted to somehow make sense that it was that all these inspirations would be there in our music, like the Cramps, uh, the Cult, Hanoi Rocks, Iggy and the Stooges, Motorhead, Sisters of Mercy. We tried that, like, come up with some solution for that, and that took nearly a decade. And we were lucky enough to have a chance to make records. We made like some three records, three full albums of music, and then when the fourth came, which was called Wasting the Dawn, uh, that finally was the first international release. But we have played like 10 years by then.
Mm.
But like it's like I hopefully you understand from this story that we were just like and still are huge fans of rock music. We just wanted to play it how we think was right. And since from the early days, the times have changed, the world has
Mm.
changed,
Mm.
but the 69 Eyes has not. We're exactly, like from the same idea, coming still from the same idea, and we're still rock fans, fanboys,
Well,
and
Finland is amazing, an amazing place. I mean, Hanoi Rocks, and in these days, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Reckless Love, which is
yeah,
carrying
sure,
that sound into the modern era as well.
yeah, absolutely. They're our friends as well. So, yeah. So, and like from you can understand that we loosely everything what the Six Silence is doing in is if you know your rock history is really based on the early rock and roll from the 50s. I mean, I
Mm.
like to keep everything very simple, song structures, lyrics as simple as possible, and have that original rock and roll vibe there. So and all of a sudden, all through the years, uh, as we are talking here right now, there's not so many bands even close to us what we are doing. Like at some point, there was like a bunch of bands who were sort of like having the same kind of things going on around the world. But now it's like in this world with our Motorhead, even that it's like pretty lonely place these days playing any kind of rock and roll. But
Yeah.
I think the times are in that way. a changing that rock and roll all of a sudden is like returning, or it's getting more. People are more. I guess people want to listen to that more again. I mean, it has been different times like before, and different kind of needs for the people. But I think right now it seems like rock and roll is really definitely doing comeback. If you even just you know if you check out what records have been coming out during this summer, so it's definitely become back for rock. I would say like I'm enjoying like the new Raconteurs album is great. Black Keys had an album out, and uh, DAD from Denmark, if you know that band, they
Yep,
have
yep,
amazing
yep.
record out, and like there's cool stuff coming up, and like people are putting great records out. So it's a definitely good time for rock and roll, I think, right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's some cool themes coming. I mean, just speaking about the new album, you've got a song that's about Hollywood and broken dreams and everybody chasing fame. Which
Hmm.
song is this on the new album?
Oh, it's like 27 and Done, which is the
Ah,
first
yeah.
single, which was like well, those things are present and in every song. But the first single from this album is called 27 and Done, and that was like I go to LA quite a bit, and I just love to. It's inspirational place. If you want to be creative, no matter what you do, you should really go there because that's where the things are happening. Like always had have been like that, but more or less still and right here, right now. So with the social media, that really gives young people hard time because you really have to show that you're happening in social media as well. So once you go to the city of dreams, uh, if you don't, if you this is like my dark humor, but it's like if you haven't happened until you're 27, it's like it's rather join the 27 club and become a legend if you really want to become something.
Yeah.
If there's a lot of
Yeah.
like desperation out there, like for people uh, who come all over the world there, and then like it's not so many survive. So it's just like my sarcastic comment about that, and especially social media have it has been driving people crazy, literally. Like we all like those news come up all the time right
Mm,
now.
mm.
Like all these big social media people, they are whatever unfortunate is happened for them. So that is something that we are just handling right now, and also like that's just my dark sense of humor in that song. I The chorus goes, let's all die young, um, it's so easy and fun. And that's also my sick joke. We played that song already like at 4 festivals here during the summertime, and it's pretty crazy when the whole audience is singing along already the song. Maybe I wanted that, but it also scares me like it really happened that way.
Yeah.
But it's just dark humor. The 69 Eyes is the darkness that we represent. It's more like a movie or comics kind of darkness. It's not like really dark, serious stuff. It's more like with like it's more like through the sunglasses, like
Cool,
kind
cool.
of stuff.
But real life is gritty, and 69 Ice, the band has made it. You guys have had number one singles, platinum albums, but going for as long as you've been going, you would have seen your fair share of other musicians and celebrities, their dreams breaking, their star falling throughout the years. Is there anything that comes to mind which has affected you or the band in seeing some other tragedy unfolding with another celebrity or star that could have been a bright shining light?
Well, for instance, we just recently, this springtime in um, in April and May, we returned to States. We haven't played in the U.S. for a decade, which was, and then we returned, and it was like seemed like we were not away that long. Like all the fans were waiting there, and it was like amazing homecoming vibe. So when we were supposed to go to the States last time, before this time right now, a decade ago, there was a tour that we were supposed to do there with Typo Negative, and then somehow it didn't happen, and
Right.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
now there is no Typo Negative
Mm, mm,
anymore.
mm.
So there's these things, and like it's same thing with every artist which is just leaving us, or even in this case, as I've been doing these interviews, I don't actually kind of see my position where the 69 eyes are or where we are, but from where I am. But doing these interviews, recently somebody from Central Europe asked like okay, there was a scene in Finland with the bands like him, The
Mm. Yep.
Sentenced,
Yep.
Sharon, and To Die For, and you are the only band that is left. And I didn't even realize that we are part of that kind of scene, but well, at least for some we are. So there was a dark melodic metal scene in Finland
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
nearly 20 years ago,
Well,
and
people
we
associate you, yeah, with
yeah,
him
that doesn't
a
matter.
lot
That doesn't
because
matter.
the band Margera and everything. So
Yeah.
it's you do get that association. Yeah.
So actually, I told this to Ville Valo from him when I saw him, and he was like, "Oh, but you were actually that's pretty cool because you were actually 10 years before the other bands even." So
Mm,
like
mm.
people associate us to Hanoi Rocks, they associate us to him, and whatever is coming next, maybe Reckless Love, these days, like
Yeah.
we are same scene, but we have been here forever, so it's kind of that's why the term Helsinki vampires is getting actually pretty literate these days.
Cool. You guys on this new album, Wednesday 13, Danny Filth, Kaliko Cooper, that's Alice Cooper's daughter. You got these guest stars. You don't normally have so many guest stars on your albums. Is this new for you?
Yeah, a little bit because like I don't think that people when that's our 12th album, and we have the loyal fans who are following us. They've been listening us for 2 decades, 1 decade, or even less or more, and I think that they would be satisfied with the record that we just do. But this time around, I just ran into all these people in LA last year, and we've been touring. I've been knowing Danny Phil for 25 years.
Yeah.
Wednesday 13, nearly that amount, and
Cool.
Calico Cooper is also part of the 69 family. So, and we've been touring together over the decades. So this time I just ran into them, and I hadn't seen any of them like for 10 years. So I just said like, hey, come to our new album. So let's do something together, and that was cool to have these kind of guests because they're part of the family and they really fit it. And I can't wait for fans to hear the opening track, Two Horns Up, with Danny Filth. We're also going to have a video about it, and it's really sick. So I'm really excited. More than anything, I'm really excited people to see that. The other track we're doing there is The Last House on the Left, which is a Wes Craven classic movie. Also, the new version is actually really good. If you never seen that movie, you should check out. So
Mm.
there's Wednesday 13 who co-wrote the song with me, perfect lyrics, which goes along with the storyline of the movie. And also, we needed a revenging female, so of course, Calico Cooper is the right
Awesome.
person to be there, anywhere basically. So and then cherry on that top. Black cherry on the top of that song, there's of course Danny Phil screaming his lungs out. So that will be the Halloween horror punk song for 2019 for everybody. So,
Excellent. Okay, well, I'm running out of time, so I've got to get your
yes, sir.
last message for the fans of New Zealand, and then I get a couple of stings as well for the radio shows. So,
Yes. All right.
message for the New Zealand fans.
Yeah, come on, man. We're never played down there, and we're definitely are going to come there. So please help the Helsinki Vampires out. Not only inviting us because the vampire needs an invitation to enter, but also please tell your promoters that you want to see the 69 Eyes in your clubs. And so we will, load our 5 coffins to a boat and arrive one dark night there. I can't wait for that. So help us out with a little bit with that.